Oh, you said you hit it. My bad.
Yeah, I already hit it, boss. Yeah, we're already starting off great. Happy Thanksgiving, fellas. We are not American, so before you guys say Happy Thanksgiving, we had Thanksgiving in October because we are
Yeah.
Canadian. But for those of you guys that are American, which I'm sure is like 95% of you in here, Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Hopefully, you spend some time with your families, eat some food, all that good stuff. For us as Canadians, we get two Thanksgivings. It feels like because we get your Thanksgiving, which means a lot of football. We get our own Thanksgiving, which is on a Monday in October. And then we also get Black Friday, just like you guys. So a lot of good stuff about being Canadian. Consider moving to this country. It's a great one. Anyways,
It's
Danny,
beautiful.
how you doing? And then we'll get into some housekeeping stuff. What we're gonna basically do here is go through like kind of where we have these players ranked relatively in these games, just to answer a lot of your guys' questions, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about these players, and we might not
Yeah.
get to all of them. So we'll go over where we have them ranked.
Yeah, no, doing well, doing well. And I mean, Thursday, every Thanksgiving Thursday in America is a beautiful day for me because I mean, again, I already enjoyed my Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, but being a Cowboys fan, knowing that they play 4:30 every Thursday on Thanksgiving is pretty nice. Knowing that you got the 12:30 game, builds the hype towards the mid game, the mid 4:30 p.m. kickoff game. And then I have time to digest and wait for that 8:30 p.m. kickoff game. And today's slate is really, really fun. Obviously, 12:30 kickoff, we always got the Detroit Lions going up against Green Bay Packers. We obviously take on the Washington Commanders. Fun fact on that line, it opened at 10.5. And within like a couple of hours, I don't know if there was like intrinsic news about the health of the Washington defense, but the line went up to 13.5. You usually don't see a 3-point swing like that within a day. So I'm curious to see, I know Washington's been banged up front. Obviously, their edge rushers are completely depleted at this point. Their corners, I think even Forbes is banged up at this point. Like, if the Cowboys don't put up a ton of points, I'd be extremely shocked today.
Yeah, shocker. Danny thinks the Cowboys are going to stomp them. But for what it's worth, I did actually place a bet on the Cowboys covering 10.5 when the spread was 10.5. So that's good news for me that the spread is now up to 13 points or whatever. So a couple quick housekeeping things. Real quick before we get into everything. If you guys are unaware, we did actually have, I'm trying to find this here. We did actually have our Flock Fantasy trade calculator officially launched last night. So if you guys are Flock Fantasy site subscribers, or maybe you've been on the fence about signing up, this is actually something that will be free, I believe, for the entire weekend. And when you start your 2-day free trial, of course, you'll have access to it. And as of right now, you can do like redraft or dynasty trades. As of this current moment, we don't have dynasty rookie pick values in there yet, but that will be coming very soon. So as of now, it's just player v player type of trades. But I'll show you guys with a trade that I made a couple weeks ago in my home league how it works here. So my league is a redraft league, full PPR, tight end premium, because you get half points per first downs for tight ends. 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex, and 5 bench spots is the league format. You hit submit on there. And then the trade I made was Dalton Kincaid for Kyler Murray and Kyle Pitts. I actually got some fab on top of that. That's maybe something else we can add to this. But basically, you go like this, and then it says you slightly win. And the reason this trade calculator, I think, is way better than any other trade calculator out there is because most trade calculators, it's simply player v player. What this trade calculator does is it takes in all the information that you put in here, the tight end premium format, how shallow the league is, how many teams there are. And also, as you guys notice here, it says Dalton Kincaid plus a waiver wire ad. The waiver wire ad calculation is basically done on your league format. So since mine's a 12-man league with this many roster spots, it adds up all those things, whatever it is, 12 spots and a 12-man league that's 144 players. The waiver wire ad will essentially take the 145th player in our community rankings and add that to your Dalton Kincaid side, because as you guys know, when you're making 2-for-1 trades, you have an open bench spot. You can still add a player. It's not like you're losing that bench spot overall. So really cool. If you guys want to check this out, it is free to use this weekend. And of course, if you do sign up over on Flock Fantasy, make sure to use promo code FSE. We also have an in-season dynasty trading tips video that is exclusively on Flock Fantasy. You will not see that over here on YouTube. And also, too, we will have a bonus weekly episode going forward now every week on Flock Fantasy. So definitely check that out if you're interested.
And real quick on the site, and I'm glad that this is what my favorite implementation of the trade calculator is. Typically, you'll see a lot of sites with trade calculators, and they're not appropriately valuing the value of a bench spot. Like, we know inherently, like if you're going for a 3-for-2, you could still add someone with that bench spot. And a lot of times you'll see like people post screenshots of like a 5-for-1 deal, and it's just completely adding up the
Let's
value
do
on
it
the
right
one
now.
side.
Let's do it right now. Let's go Tyreek Hill, one of the most valuable assets in
Yeah.
fantasy. Let's throw in a bunch of guys. Let's go Tank Dell. Name me random wide receivers. Chris Godwin.
Yeah. Josh Downs. Maybe like
Right.
a
So that's a
Jared Goff.
3-for-1. Let's also throw in Devin Singletary. So you got a 4-for-1 deal, and it says you're robbing them. It doesn't take individual value of these players because you're getting 3 waiver ads on top of these bench spots. You get the best asset in the deal, which is Tyreek Hill. This is how a trade calculator should work. So definitely last plug that we'll give on that. And also as well, let's go through some of these games and talk about where we have these players ranked. Because again, we want to answer as many questions as we possibly can for you guys. So talking through these games one by one and talking about where we would start these players is a key for that. So Lions and Packers, the first game that we have, that'll be kicking off in about an hour from now at 12:30 Eastern. I think the big, nobody's concerned about Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's starting in your lineup. He's a top 5 receiver for me this week. I think the big decision point for a lot of people will be A.J. Dillon. Where do we start A.J. Dillon? Because A.J. Dillon came into this game questionable. Aaron Jones is out with the knee injury that he suffered. Where do you have A.J. Dillon ranked right now, and where is he kind of around?
He's currently a top 25 running back for me. He's my RB22 on the slate. I think in a range with guys like Charbonnet, James Cook, Jalen Warren, maybe Gus Edwards. Like that's the type of range that I see him filling into. Obviously, the volume play here, if he is fully healthy, fully ready to go, Aaron Jones not playing in this game, we could expect him to command upwards of 18 to 20 touches in this game. The problem is that A.J. Dillon isn't a very good football player, and the Green Bay Packers don't have a very good offense, hence why him being more so a back-end RB2, rather than, I mean, if it was, let's just say, Isaiah Pacheco against the Raiders, like he's RB13, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually have Dillon lower than you. I have him at 27, and it sounds like I also have Charbonnet a lot higher than you, which we'll talk about when we get to I have at 19, so I have him a lot higher apparently than you do. I also have Kyron Williams up there in my rankings. I'm not sure if you've accounted for him coming off of IR yet. I also tentatively have Devin Singletary ranked ahead of A.J. Dillon, although I don't know if Dameon Pierce will be out again, but if he is, guess we won't know that information. But A.J. Dillon for me is like a flex play. He's not a guy that you absolutely have to start. Of course, if you are starting him, don't put him in your flex because he's playing the first game of the week. The quarterbacks in this game, don't start Jordan Love. Just you should have better options. Don't start Jordan Love. But Jared Goff, where do you have Jared Goff ranked right now?
So I actually have Jordan Love as my quarterback 17. He's the type of guy where if you lost Joe Burrow, you're in a desperate spot. I don't mind putting him in your lineup.
You should have Sam Howell, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, or Matthew Stafford on waivers, in my opinion. And I would rather start all of those guys over Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, they're all quarterback twos for what it's worth. Jared Goff, I do kind of prefer over those guys. He's played well this year. He's my quarterback 14 on the slate. But it's funny because it kind of feels like you get to 14 or 15 guys and then it kind of falls off a cliff a little bit. Like quarterback, it's kind of tiered at this point where, you got your top guys, like top 5 or so. And then like 6 to like 14 or 15, bro, you can flip a hat or you flip a coin. You pick out a hat.
Yeah, literally. Anybody else in this game that you feel we need to touch on? I mean, Sam Laporta is in your starting lineup. I would say Tucker Kraft maybe is one that people are concerned with because Luke Musgrave goes to IR with an abdomen injury. Tucker Kraft, it's been reported that he's going to walk into the role. For what it's worth, if you guys were following us all the way back in the Dynasty offseason, I preferred Tucker Kraft to Luke Musgrave before the draft process. Kraft went, I believe, in the third round or the late second round or something like that. Luke Musgrave went in the early second round. So I wouldn't be shocked if he kind of like if he kind of Lou Gehrig's him here and takes his job, because honestly, I think Tucker Kraft is the better tight end, but I do have him tentatively ranked as my tight end 16 this week behind the likes of, Logan Thomas, Isaiah Likely, Cole Kmet, Kyle Pitts. I would start all of those guys over Kraft, but if you're deciding between Tucker Kraft and, Pat Freiermuth, Michael Mayer, Cade Otton, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, like I would start Kraft over those guys. And I have Laporta at 4 to answer your question.
I have 4 as well. Who are the top 3? Kincaid, Hawkinson, Kelsey?
Yes, I have Kelsey at 1, Kincaid at 2, and Hawkinson at 3. So yeah, if you're wondering, should I start, McBride over Laporta? Like I have Laporta at 4. Like he is an every week starter in my opinion. So anything else from this game, or should we hop to the Cowboys Commanders?
I mean, there's nothing else we really need to touch
Maybe
upon.
start the Lions defense as well, if you guys are streaming defenses.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say too, if you're for DFS purposes, maybe you're playing the Thursday slate. Jahmyr Gibbs is my RB3 overall this week. Love the efficiency, love the matchup here in Green Bay at home. He's been playing lights out. He's been averaging over 23 PPR points per game since he came back from his injury. So I'm just gonna keep riding the hot hand, man. This legitimately looks like Alvin Kamara 2.0.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the Lions running backs because they're both in my top 14 this week. I just figured you guys have to start them if you have them. They're pretty much every week starters. So the Commanders-Cowboys game. So the every week starters in this one, obviously CeeDee Lamb's in your lineup. He's literally my wide receiver 1 this week.
Same.
Even because Tyreek has a tough matchup, that's kind of the tiebreaker there. Tony Pollard had a great game last week, his first one in a while. I have him at RB13. Me and you were talking before we went live here, like, if you're deciding between Tony Pollard and like Rashad White or Saquon Barkley or Isaiah Pacheco, like he's got to be in your lineup. The decision point comes like, do you go with like a steady Eddie, like a Josh Jacobs or a Bijan Robinson or a Jonathan Taylor versus Tony Pollard, who has better matchups than all of those players?
I have Tony Pollard ranked as my RB6 this week, and I get it. There's Cowboys colored glasses that I'm looking through here. I understand that, but the last 2 weeks, he's objectively played a lot better football. In the first 9 weeks of the year, he got credited with 8 missed tackles. In the last 2 games alone, has been credited with 10. So it just kind of looks like he got off to that slow start. Obviously, very similar injury actually to that Mark Andrews suffered against on Thursday Night Football against the Bengals, where it was a hip drop tackle. He fractured part of his fibula, obviously the high ankle sprain included in there. And lack of offseason program, I don't know what the case would be, but it was clear as day that he didn't look like that same guy. And I do think in these last 2 weeks, he's looked like a much better football player. You mentioned the matchup implications. I mean, Washington's without their top edges, obviously traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat at the deadline. Both guys have given the Cowboys problems in the past. And I mean, their secondary is French show. So I think realistically, the Cowboys should be able to score 30 pretty comfortably in this game.
Yeah, and I have Prescott at 4, so we don't even need to talk about him. I literally would start Dak Prescott over Patrick Mahomes this week. Like, I have him high, and like Danny's the fucking biased piece of shit Cowboys fan, so you don't even need to listen to him on Dak. But like, I have him at 4. Like, he is an every week starter going forward for the rest of the year, and especially this game against the Command. Like, literally, Tommy DeVito was a great fantasy quarterback last week against this defense.
Yeah, I'm just saying the Cowboys get 13 wins. Maybe we get a nice little MVP for 4.
Yeah, Danny just be loving that. So other things in this game, and then we'll try and speed these up just to make sure we're not going too long. I want to get to some questions here. What's up?
Real quick on the Cowboys side, if you're in a deeper league, flex league, like 2 flexes, Cooks. 2 wide receivers, I really like Brandon Cooks this week. I knew you were going to mention that as well. Wide receivers on Washington do obviously take a big hit in terms of overall matchup. However, I'm still starting them with top 40.
Let me ask you this: would you start Cooks over the Washington wide receivers if you had to make that decision?
I'd probably go Terry over him, and I'd probably go Cooks over Dotson is how I have it.
Yeah, I would as well. So I have McLaurin at 37. I have Cooks at 46, and I have Dotson at 48. We don't have any bye weeks this week. So if that sounds low to you, it's just because there's like a lot of players available because there's no bye weeks this week. And then Ferguson at tight end, where do you have him ranked? I have him at 10, and then I have Logan Thomas at 15. So I think both of those guys are relatively okay starts, but Ferguson... I have Ferguson over Taysom Hill, Kyle Pitts, Cole Kmet, Isaiah Likely, Tucker Kraft.
Ferguson I have at 7, Thomas at 16.
Okay, so you would start Ferguson over Njoku, Schultz types.
Njoku, Schultz, Engram, Kmet is like.
Okay, so yeah, you got him right in that range as well. I mean, the implied point total, I'm assuming, is the reason you got Ferguson. Yeah. For what it's worth, it is a pretty tough matchup. One position that they are good at defending is tight ends. It's mainly wide receivers that eat against the Commanders, but Cowboys defense also like play it. Like Sam Howell's free cap for defenses.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about with the Washington matchup. Obviously, the matchup on the face level against the Cowboys. Cowboys really good defense, really a suffocating defense. Like if they get on you early, they're going to get, they're going to put their foot down and they're going to really have things snowballing on you. The thing is though, I mean, Sam Howell in this passing attack is still going to throw the ball 45 plus times. So even though it might not be pretty, it might be ugly throughout the game. He might throw 3 picks. He might, take 6 sacks. There's going to be a lot of
higher or lower on sacks for Underdog is 4.5. 4.5, which is still crazy.
I take the over.
That's crazy. That we're saying 5 sack. Dude, 5 sack performances aren't supposed to happen like that. Like, and Sam Howell's just taking them. Obviously, he's turning the ball over a lot too. So yeah, start all your Cowboys basically, and sit most of your Commanders. I mean, we didn't talk about Brian Robinson, I suppose. I'm not excited about him. He's like a flex play this week.
Top 30.
Do we have word, like, is Gibson going to play?
I know he's been dealing with the toe. I haven't been able to track his practice reports,
I'm
but
looking right now.
I believe it said he was
Gibson's a
unlikely to
game
play.
time decision, so he must have been labeled active or
Mhm.
inactive already.
Yeah, I think I know he was struggling throughout the week, so I would be surprised if he played.
Yeah. Either way, I'm not excited about Brian Robinson
Yeah.
regardless. Even if Gibson is out, he's still like RB. Where do I have him right
Top 30
now?
guy.
If you have Brian Robinson, I have him at 29,
Yeah.
right behind James Cook, AJ Dillon, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford types. So I'm not really excited about him. So quickly, let's get to the 49ers and Seahawks game. Pretty easy, cut and dry for the 49ers. You start everybody. You start obviously McCaffrey. You start obviously Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. I saw a couple people asking George Kittle or Sam Laporta. I have Sam Laporta higher, so if you do have that decision, I would go with Sam Laporta.
You probably just put Kittle in your flex anyways. Like, there's surely you don't have better options than Kittle in your flex. Like,
yeah,
Kittle's
for
a
sure.
really
Yeah,
good
he's
flex
a good
player.
option. He's tight end 5 for me this week. The only tight ends I would start over him are Laporta, Hawkinson, Kincaid, and Kelsey.
Question I have for you. Let's just say you have George Kittle as your second tight end. Like, where would you rank him if the label said wide receiver to him? Because I think he'd be a
Probably
top 20
like
wide
top
receiver.
28.
Yeah, like top 20, top 24 for me, around there. He's been phenomenal, by the way. Phenomenal.
Yeah, he has been really good. Where do you have Deebo Samuel? Because he's the one guy that's like kind of on the fringe on the 49ers. The rest of them, I mean, you're just starting everybody. Brock Purdy I have as a top 10 quarterback as well. So he's a guy that I'm starting as well.
Deebo I currently have as a top 24 option given the matchup, but if you want to start guys like Metcalf, Flowers, Addison, Collins, Marquise Brown, I think that's about the area I think he belongs in.
I have Deebo at 31, dude. I would start Drake London, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, and Tyler Lockett over him, as well as the names that you just said.
We might have to make a let's make a Thanksgiving Day bet. Deebo Samuel versus Tyler Lockett.
All right, let's do it. Yeah,
All
I mean, Deebo's just been so inconsistent this year that I'm not always going to just be ready to throw him in because you know McCaffrey takes away the rushing work and Ayuk takes away the receiving work, as does Kittle. So he's kind of just like at the mercy of like
I don't think he's been fully healthy,
has a down game, he can eat, but if they're right and they're healthy, he's probably not a great option.
He kind of just feels like the squeaky wheel in a sense where he hasn't been healthy for a while, in my opinion. Like even when he came back from injury, you could tell that they were really easing him in. Once he's like fully ready to go, I honestly just think it's going to be one person's going to disappoint every week, not Deebo's going to disappoint every week. You know what I mean?
I still think Deebo is the most likely to disappoint.
He's the most volatile for sure.
He is for sure. And I mean, Kittle is pretty volatile as well. Ayuk and McCaffrey seem to be like the constants, at least in terms of volume for Ayuk, because he's had some down games, but most of those games he's still getting like 8 or 9 targets in. Purdy, I have at 7. So if you guys have a decision that's like Murray versus Purdy, like Murray is the cutoff for me. So Murray, Mahomes, Dak, Lamar, Allen, and Hurts are the only quarterbacks I would start over Brock Purdy this week. I would start Purdy over Fields, Stroud, Dobbs, Herbert, Lawrence, Tua. Like Tua and Herbert seem like every week starters. I would start Brock Purdy over them this week.
So the only adjustment that I have is I do have Fields above him. You didn't mention Justin Fields' name.
Fields is right behind him for me. So
yeah, just because I just adjusted my rankings, so that's a really good point. I can't have Stroud as high as I had him. So I moved Stroud down to 10. I have Herbert at 9, Purdy at 8, Kyler at 7, Justin Fields at 6. The reason why I'm so high on Justin Fields is we literally saw first game back from injury, the guy take it for 18 rush attempts. Like if we're seeing that type of ludicrous rushing volume from your quarterback, it's hard for them not to be a fringe top 5 option.
Yeah, I mean, on the Seahawks side of things, Geno Smith doesn't see the light of day in your lineup. He's coming in banged up. I wouldn't trust him at all. I have him at like 24. Like I would start like Will Levis over him, so I wouldn't get excited about Geno. In terms of, I mean, Charbonnet is the big question mark, I would assume, for a lot of people because Kenneth Walker is out for this game. Zach Charbonnet had, a good snap share, good target share last week, caught a couple balls. Zach Charbonnet right now is my RB19. So where I have him ranked, I would start Zach Charbonnet over Javonte Williams against the Browns. I would start him over James Conner against the Rams. I would start him over Kyron Williams. I would start him over Devin Singletary, even if Dameon Pierce is out. I would start him over Jerome Ford and Jalen Warren and Joe Mixon and AJ Dillon. The cutoff for me, basically, where Charbonnet doesn't, win out is Ramondre Stevenson, Isaiah Pacheco, Saquon Barkley, David Montgomery, Rashad White, Tony Pollard, Raheem Mostert, and then all the RB1s ahead of that is kind of where I would have Zach Charbonnet. So I think he's a pretty solid start this week. Like I'm starting him right now in my home league, I have a flex decision, and obviously Charbonnet will be in my RB2 spot because I'm not going to play him in my flex. But my flex decision is Drake London, Zach Charbonnet, or T. Higgins, and I'm playing Zach Charbonnet over both of those wide receivers.
Yeah, so I have Charbonnet at 22, low end RB2 for me this week. The only guys I kind of disagree on would be like James Conner, Kyron Williams. I also have Joe Mixon higher. Though then again, I mean, do
you mix him without Burrow? Like Mixon, all he is good situation. So you take away the situation. Mixon will be in the low end RB2, high end RB3 range for the rest of the season for me.
That's fair. I should move him down. The question I have is, who would you start this week, AJ Dillon or Joe Mixon?
I have Joe Mixon one spot higher, but I actually
that seems like the cutoff.
AJ Dillon over him, to be honest.
Yeah,
they're the same player.
That's a good point.
They're going to get carries and targets and maybe goal line work, but one guy has his starting quarterback at the very least.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Speaking of, by the way, you mentioned Charbonnet can't be in your flex. Well, he has to be for me because all 3 of the Turkey Day games I have a running back playing it. I have Gibbs at 12:30 kickoff. I have Tony Pollard at the 4:30, and then I have Charbonnet at the 8:20. So
yeah, see, my other running back is Jacobs, who plays on Sunday, so I'm able to sneak him in there. But I have Pollard playing as well today, so I got 2 running backs going as well. But I think that's it. I mean, DK Metcalf I have at 24. He's a wide receiver 2 start. Tyler Lockett, I have pretty high at 27. The 49ers are pretty susceptible to wide receivers. I wouldn't mess around with Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's no buys this week, so I don't think you probably need to put him into your lineup. Same goes for Geno and Noah Fant and any other players from that game. So quickly, Dolphins, Jets, very straightforward. Breece Hall's in your lineup. Raheem Mostert's in your lineup because it looks like Achan's going to be either out or limited.
Tyreek, Waddle.
Tyreek is in your lineup. Waddle, I have a little lower than I usually do. I have him at 22 right now, but he's still probably a starter for most people. Yeah. And then Garrett Wilson is probably the biggest fringe option, I would say, in this game. But again, I have him right behind Waddle at 23. So they're both kind of in that same range where, like, Wilson's got a pretty decent matchup. Well, I don't think Tim Boyle is going to be any big improvement on Zach Wilson. But if he's that bad, maybe Trevor Siemian comes in. Like I tweeted out earlier today, like the Jets are legit bottom 3 in points for, points per drive, like EPA, whatever stat you want to go to. They're dead last in third down percentage. They're dead last in first down percentage per play. They're dead last in red zone conversions. Like Breece Hall's literally the RB5 since week 5 when the training wheels were taken off, when Saleh made that comment. And he's been in the stone worst situation in the entire league. He also has probably the worst offensive line in the NFL as well. So the fact that Breece Hall has been literally RB5 since that happened is insane.
Yeah. Real quick, in terms of Tua, we both mentioned we have him at quarterback 13. So if you guys have Tua Tagovailoa, and I doubt maybe in a more shallow league, some of these guys are going to be available. I doubt a lot of them would be available, but maybe someone dropped Trevor Lawrence, like for example, in your league, someone dropped Trevor Lawrence. You can go scoop him. I would play Trevor Lawrence over Tua. Josh Dobbs plays on Monday night against Chicago. I would go with him over Tua.
If you can still make trades, by the way, because your trade deadline hasn't happened and it's pre 12:30 kickoff or whatever, go trade Tua for Dak straight up right now, because Dak, like, you might be able to get that done because of what Miami did early on in the season. And Dak's schedule is like literally the best in the league rest of the season, and Tua's is the worst.
Yeah, by far. So we'll get into some supers now. First one here from D-Bell. Canada sucks. Don't move here, please.
I mean, I disagree, but it don't move here is what is the solid message there. Cause we like the one thing I will say, like every time I go to the States, like there's so many more people than there is in Canada. Like I have room to breathe in Canada, which is something I absolutely love. And like, we live in a relatively populated area of Canada too.
Near Toronto.
And even in the bigger cities, I'm like, yo, like I need room to breathe.
Dude, I mean that, and the fact is, like I mentioned this when we were streaming in Buffalo, but I don't know what it is. My stomach doesn't feel right with American food, man.
Yeah, like me and Danny get absolutely rinsed by American food every single time we eat it. Like we're going to the Bills Cowboys game in week 15, and like I'm gonna bring food. I think, like, I'm honest to God, I'm honestly gonna bring food. Like I make like chicken and rice and throw it in like a cooler or whatever and bring it up to Buffalo, because I like legit can't eat your guys' food. I don't know what the fuck is going on with your food, but I can't eat it. Hugo's in here. He's Canadian too. So happy Thanksgiving to you, Hugo. $6.99 super chat. He says, "What's up, guys? Start for Tank Dell, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Josh Downs, Marquise Brown." He also traded Addison for Marquise. Was it a mistake? No, I would prefer Marquise Brown rest of the season to Jordan Addison. What's the latest on Cooper Kupp? Do we know if he's going to play?
So I know he's been limited at practice. Let me just see what the latest report says. Cooper Cup news.
Still says day to day. He was missing Wednesday's
missed practice yesterday. Yeah.
It's too early in the week to be able to answer this question, Hugo. I would say tentatively, I would expect Cup to be out. So I would say Puka Nacua, Tank Dell, Marquise Brown, and Josh Downs are the guys that you're starting by default then. But if Cup is playing, then the guy I'm sitting this is tough because I love Josh Downs this week. I really do not want to leave him out of my line. I know my Buccaneers secondary is going to have a problem with him. So I actually would probably sit Marquise Brown for him.
I don't mind that. They're relatively
If Cup is active, you can go Cup, Nacua, Tank Dell, and Josh Downs.
Yeah. I would agree with that. By the way, with Cup not practicing, Puka's limited, but I mean, he's been limited for a while. Like, I feel like this guy's always limited.
He'll be fine. I'm not worried about Puka Nacua.
Yeah. Traded away. Wait.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Trade away Charbs, Chase, and Kittle for Gibbs, Devontae Smith, and Logan Thomas. Good move. Now have Allen, Bijan, Gibbs, Lamb, Amon, Smith, Thomas.
I mean, Thomas is a non-starter at tight end, which is kind of a problem. So you're going to need to probably stream the wire, go pick up Isaiah Likely or Tucker Kraft, maybe if they're available, and see if you can get something going there. But as far as your trade, like I would prefer Devontae Smith to Jamar Chase rest of the season, given that Burrow is out. That might be a hot take, but I think I actually would prefer Smith. Jahmyr Gibbs is miles ahead of Zach Charbonnet.
By far.
Even if Walker missed the rest of the season, like the schedule for Charbonnet is pretty difficult, and Gibbs is probably a top 5 running back rest of the year. The problem is losing Kittle. You kind of don't really have a stable tight end option, but I guess Logan Thomas is the type of guy that gets you like 8 to 10 points a week if that's what you're looking for. Although I would say you should probably try and make a move to upgrade at tight end. Maybe go after Sam Laporta if people are worried about him, or go after I'm trying to think who else.
Even like a Ferguson type.
Yeah, even going after like Taysom Hill or Kyle Pitts would make me feel a little bit more normal at the tight end position. But I mean, you could stream the rest of the year. It's not a big deal.
By the way, just looking at the lineup, even if he's a little bit weak at tight end, having Allen, Bijan, Gibbs, Lamb, Monner, and Devontae rest of the season is pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, those top 2 receivers especially, and the way that Bijan and Gibbs are like, they're rookies. They're going to get better as the season goes along. That's really well set up there.
Real talk, man. Like, I think you have to put Tyreek at 1 rest of the season based off what he's doing at wide receiver, but I've had Lamb at 2 for a while, man, and it feels great knowing the schedule that's coming up, the way he's been playing. He's going to be a league winner, dude. He's going to be a league winner. I wouldn't be shocked if he averaged.
So I drafted 20% Bijan Robinson and 16% CeeDee Lamb. Those were my highest rostered 2 first-round players in Best Ball Mania 4. They both just happen to have the easiest 2 schedules of their position. For the rest of the year. So, I mean, my Bijan bags are looking a little yikes because it was hard to advance some of these teams, but I'm hoping as the weeks go along. See, the tough thing for Bijan too is that he has the Saints this week and the Buccaneers in week 14. So he actually has 2 more bad matchups. But once you actually get to the playoffs, if you can advance him, he has, I think it's like the Colts, Panthers, and Bears or something like that. Like just easy matchups, especially week 17 against Chicago. He could be in the BBM4 winning lineup.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Cody, if you can find the comment, I'll get back
I got
to
it right here. He said starting Goff, Chase, St. Brown, Brees, Bijan, Olave, Javonte sitting, Dobbs, Charbonnet. Okay, so anything you would change about this lineup?
Dobbs over Goff.
I would start Charbonnet over Javonte Williams. That would be the change that I would make first and foremost. And then I actually agree with you. I would start Dobbs over Goff as well. But you have St. Brown, close enough. I think you're fine going Goff to St. Brown just because you have Goff and St. Brown. But Dobbs would actually technically be my highest ranked player.
Yeah, same page there. Same page. Rockout says PPR 1 running back, 1 flex, Charbonnet, Javonte, McLaurin, and Reed. So Charbonnet's the lock.
Well, I mean, Charbonnet and Javonte are close in my rankings. I would just start those 2 guys, though, to be honest.
I agree.
I mean, McLaurin's got this knack for performing against NFC East teams.
Not the Cowboys.
Maybe not the Cowboys, but he always does well against the Eagles and Giants. I would say Javonte and Charbs are the 2 easiest projections there, though.
For what it's worth with Terry against the Cowboys, too, keep in mind the player that usually locks him down has been Trayvon Diggs, and Trayvon Diggs obviously is out for the year, so that could be a dynamic factor. However, with how DaRon Bland has been playing, I think he's out for the assignment. Like DaRon Bland, I think you can – no bias. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan, but
you can make Depoy
Depoy and
dude, if he has
first team All Pro
today or something, like he actually might win Defensive Player of the Year.
Dude, he's easily first team All Pro. Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
his
he'll
second year.
probably already be first team All Pro, but like he
Yeah.
might like who's the favorite for DPOY right now? Myles Garrett probably.
Myles Garrett and Parsons in second right now.
Yeah,
In
like
terms of odds.
on the Cowboys roster, Bland has been more of an impact. Like I
From
know
an
every
EPA
time he has a
standpoint,
pick
yeah.
six, it's against like a terrible team, but like he's literally like scoring more
Dude.
touchdowns than like you can name a bunch of receivers this year that don't have 4 receiving touchdowns.
I think there's a stat that De'Ron Bland has more pick sixes than Kyle Pitts has touchdowns in his career.
I mean, but there's like I'm pretty sure like St. Brown has like 3 touchdowns this year. Like there's some like great receivers that don't have 4 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, dude, he is such a good player. And I mean, the Cowboys luck out on this guy in early day 3, and he ends up becoming an all-pro corner by year 2. After you already have your all-pro corner, Trayvon Diggs, who was talked about as a top 5 guy coming into the year, get hurt. Like, it's crazy what you talk about in 2020. Remember when the Cowboys were just in shootouts every week and like the defense was terrible, and it's like within 3 years they have the best secondary when healthy in the league and arguably the best defensive player, if not the second best defensive player in the league.
If I was an NFL GM, I would spend like this is like not a hard and fast rule because obviously you take best player available during the draft, but on day 3, assuming you have 3
Traits?
or 4, maybe 5 or 6 day 3 picks every year because you're trading back and accumulating more picks and getting compensatories because you're not a stupid GM, I would draft a DB, an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, a running back every single day 3 every single year.
I know I've heard smart people say before, every single draft you should leave with at least one offensive lineman, knowing how important the depth at the position is and knowing the hit rates in day 3. Because people don't realize,
same with
like,
defensive backs too. I feel like the Bucs have also been quite good at hitting on day 3 defensive backs. Like, I mean, Zion McCollum's been pretty good. Christian Izzian's been okay for us this year. He's literally a UDFA. Like Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean were late 3rd round picks. Like none of those guys were high draft. Mike Edwards was a 4th rounder. Jordan Whitehead was a 4th rounder. Like all of these guys were late picks. Other than Winfield, that secondary the last like 5 years has all been late round picks.
Even mentioning the Cowboys offensive line, like, yeah, they have 3 first rounders on the unit with Martin, with Smith, and with the other Smith. But 2 of their starters at center was a 4th or 5th round pick, I believe, with Biotish was, and Terrence Steele, who was an undrafted free agent. So, like, you see starters emerge at offensive
linemen and DBs, like it's free. Like draft literally one every single year on day 3 because you can never have too many of them, and they usually are decent bets to actually make contribute. And like at the very least, like DBs especially are good special teamers usually.
Oh yeah. Linebackers too. Like you get a linebacker that can run. He could play special.
I'm of the belief you can find linebackers literally anywhere, especially like, well, I would be more going down the road because like if you're going to dedicate draft assets to those positions, you should just sign 1-year deal linebackers in free agency. To be honest, I think that's a better strategy.
I agree too. I'm more so talking if you're going to draft a linebacker, it shouldn't come in the first 2 rounds. Like at earliest, you should be taking a linebacker in round 3, I think. And realistically, like we see every year, for example, the Cowboys' 2 starting linebackers right now with Leighton Vander Esch hurt, Marquise Bell, who is, I believe, a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick, and Damone Clark, who was a 5th round pick. Dude, and both of them have been playing
Devin
well.
White missed like half the Titans game, and Servatia Dennis, who was a 6th round pick, came in. And honest to God, I think he was better than Devin White. So we literally spent the 5th pick in the draft on Devin White when we should have drafted Josh Allen or Brian Burns. And I was literally pounding the table to do one of those 2 things because I think Josh Allen would be one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL with Todd Bowles as his head coach, because literally Todd Bowles runs that like 3-4 defense that has these athletic outside linebackers, and Josh Allen is being asked to play, and he's doing a good job of it, a 4-3 down lineman, which is not what he did at Kentucky.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we got here Dat 1, 11:38. Okay. Pick 2, Brian Robinson, Jaylen Warren, Hollywood, Zay Flowers, Gus Edwards, or Mike Evans. So first of all, Mike Evans is the lock.
Yeah, he's in your
clear
for sure.
one. Do you go Zay in full?
I would go Zay. Warren? Yeah, I would go. It would be Zay or Hollywood, to be honest.
I like Warren too a lot.
I don't mind Warren as well, but I think I like, dude, Zay Flowers up against the Chargers this week. That is the 3rd easiest matchup on the entire slate. So, and Zay Flowers, like, I'm not even shitting you, dude. Zay Flowers should have had like 27 fantasy points last week.
Oh, so, I know, because I was playing against
2
Zay
touchdowns
Flowers.
That he could, like, if he gets his other foot in on the other one, and if Odell Beckham doesn't get called for Phantom, I was facing Lamar Jackson, so I'm totally cool with that. What happened last week, but I will say, like, he probably should have had a 27-point day.
I was facing Zay Flowers, so we take those. Who'd you start and said, okay, yeah, so we answered your question. We followed it up. Purdy or Fields, 4-point passing touchdown. Pick 2 half PPR. Flowers, Javonte, Sharps, half PPR, G. Will or Nico. Thanks. So first one, Purdy or Fields. And a 4-point, I'm going with Fields. Like the rushing alone takes it over the top. 6-point, you go Purdy, but in 4-point, I think it has to be Fields personally. I know you have Purdy probably one spot higher.
I have Purdy higher in both formats personally, but it's
4-point.
I think the tiebreaker is just that Fields usually smashes when it's a good
volatile
matchup, and the Vikings are not a good matchup. That's kind of like because the Bears' offense isn't good enough to just like hit against good defenses.
Real quick, the development of the Vikings going from horrific defense in the first 5 weeks to one of the better ones in the NFL since has been pretty hilarious. Shout out Brian Flores. He's just got the fuck it, we ball mentality where he's blitzing basically every play. He's kind of got that Todd Bowles factor to him, you know.
Wild that's the circumstance we find ourselves in. I mean, his other questions here. He says Flowers, Javonte, or Sharps.
Sitting Javonte.
Yeah, I would sit Javonte as well, but in half PPR, that's pretty close. Like I could definitely talk myself into going with both running backs.
G. Will or Nico? I'm still going with G. Will.
Yeah, I would go with Garrett Wilson as well.
Is there Javonte versus Browns or TK with a banged up Geno?
I'm taking Javonte versus the Browns probably.
Really?
Yeah. I'll take the guarantee. DK is he's been so fucking annoying this year.
Last 2 weeks been good.
He has. He's getting targets, but like I feel like DK should be having like a pretty good season relative to how much volume he's had, and he's been definitely one of the more disappointing picks. I think. Like I mean, literally no third-round wide receiver has been good this year. Waddle, Smith, Ridley, they've all been shit, but DK especially is the most annoying. I think because he's actually been getting the targets.
I'm still going with Metcalf here because I do think that Javonte versus the Browns, like it's going to be pretty gross. I think that might be like a 13-10 game.
It might be, but I banged up Geno Smith is also not something I want to hitch my wagon to either.
At least if Drew Lock comes in, he's going to YOLO it, you know?
Yeah, that's just gross. Also, we're starting in our FFPC league. I'm pretty sure we need to swap A-Chain out because I don't think he's going to play. And even if he does, I would play Demario Douglas over him, I think.
Okay, make that switch then. I don't mind that.
I don't know. A-Chain doesn't play till tomorrow, so we don't have to make that switch today. But I'll message Ron in the chat and be like, I think we should probably put Douglas in instead of A-Chain because even if he plays, we also are starting Mostert too, so that factors into the decision.
So this is a funny question because I have Howell at 18 and Love at 17. I would actually go Love over Howell this week.
I have Howell at a little higher than you. I think I'm like 15 or something.
Fair. Yeah, I know you have Love lower.
I have at 16 and I have Love at 19. So yeah, I would go with Howell.
Okay, fair. But by the way, when you're talking earlier, it seemed like you had Love way lower than me. It's literally 2 spots.
Yeah, I mean, even though you're playing the Cowboys defense, I would still go Howell in that decision because I mean, Howell could have 26 fantasy points and still throw 2 pick sixes. Like realistically, that's just how Howell is.
Happy Thanksgiving, boys. Purdy versus Seattle or Fields. We're gonna get a lot of these. I mean, like I say Fields, Bush says Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well write it down now. So
yeah, 4-point passing touchdown right in.
Yeah, so we are of no help to you here. It really all comes down to what you buy into. Do you buy into the matchup with Purdy and the safe projection of the offense, or do you want to buy into the ceiling because Fields can rush for 100 yards like we saw last week?
Yeah, I mean that's the debate. Maybe if you're the underdog.
I mean, he says the opponent has CMC and Kittle and DJ Moore, so you can nix his Kittle and CMC potentially with Brock Purdy, but at the same time, you could also get double screwed if Christian McCaffrey rushes in 3 touchdowns. Purdy will fuck you, and then McCaffrey will have a monster day. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
In terms of which one? Oh, Pacheco.
Because it's Purdy versus Fields, but because he has CMC and Kittle, the opponent, do you want to play Purdy to nix that situation, or do you want to just play Fields? Do
you play the cock?
Because CMC can fuck you there. He can rush in 3 touchdowns, right?
That's the gamble. I'd probably just go Fields personally. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. And I would go with Pacheco over Charbonnet, but that's pretty close.
I have Pacheco a decent bit higher just because the matchup against the Raiders.
Start Tua or Murray. I have Kyler like way higher than Tua.
Way higher all day. Happy Thanksgiving. 1 PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. Flex, Keenan Allen, Lamb, Hopkins, Myers, Barkley, Kamara, Pacheco forward. Allen and Lamb are your wide receivers with ease. Kamara is one of your running backs. I'd probably go Kamara, Barkley, Pacheco, Lamb, and Allen.
Yeah, you might want to close some tabs, by the way. You're kind of going all fuzzy screen on me.
Really?
But I'm on the same page as you with that decision there.
Okay.
MCM says half PPR, two running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So you got to start 5 of these options. Bijan, Brees, Swift. So looking at this question, those 2 guys are going to be my 2 running backs and my flex. And then the wide receivers would be, for me, actually, I actually have Downs the highest of this group, which is pretty crazy.
Debo.
And then it's probably
Debo
Debo versus Higgins, but I would probably roll Debo just given the Joe Burrow and bad game environmentness of that Bengals offense.
Yep, I dig that. Got a super here from RM. Appreciate that. He says 10-team PPR, 1 running back, 2 flex. I need to decide for running back and 1 flex spot. Options are Pacheco, Charbonnet, Kyron. Who should be back for Sunday? Charbonnet playing today kind of handcuffs my decision. So Pacheco for sure is getting in. And it's really just the debate of who you would start between Charbonnet and Kyron. Because there's still,
I would start Sharps regardless if Kyron was back 100%.
If he was back 100% and we knew he was getting back to that workload, I would go with him because I do like the matchup against Arizona. But because you got the uncertainty factor, I don't want to play with that. And I would just go with Charbonnet knowing that he's going to get 18 to 20 plus touches.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the same page there. Start Logan Thomas or Tucker Kraft today. I have Logan Thomas 1 spot higher, but I think Kraft probably presents a higher ceiling. Thomas is just kind of a floor play. Like he's like a 6 for 45. Maybe he scores a touchdown.
Yeah. Chase, Dell, Ridley, Collins, Higgins, ETN, Barkley, Swift. Double flex starts this. So you have to start 2 of these guys.
Crazy.
How? What?
There's no way that this is not like his
Maybe this is 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flexes. Like he has to start 6.
Yeah, I mean, we can just rank them then, basically. For me, it would be ETN, Swift, Jacobs, Montgomery, Dell. No, Chase, Dell. That would be how I would rank it.
Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley would probably be ahead of Chase. There's a lot of backs here. I mean, if you can only start 2 of these players, which would be an absurd decision, that would be ETN and Swift for me.
Very easily. 1 point PPR, need 2, Watson, London, Sutton, Rice. Thank you. A full point PPR, I'm going with London for sure. And probably Sutton or Rice. Is it probably Sutton? Probably Sutton. Rice doesn't get the snaps.
I mean, Sutton's playing the Browns, which sucks, but he's been way more consistent than these other 2
He's got a touchdown in like 7 of his last 8 games.
He's got 8 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, or 8 of his last 9 then it is.
Crazy that Sutton has been that good.
Good for him, man. Which is funny because he's still like a low-end wide receiver too, despite the touchdowns. But like the guy, what's the compare? Like James Jones 2014, basically? Is that what we're watching?
Yeah, basically. I remember in our wide receiver piss boy listener league draft, you guys somehow let me get this guy in like round 11. I'm like, nobody likes Cortland Sutton. He's like such a fucking sexless pick or whatever, but he's like been locking down my second flex the entire season.
Yeah, no, shout out to Sutton. Half PPR leaguer, need help for my RB2. My flex, my options are Hall, Stevenson, Charbonnet, Warren, Chase, Downs, Douglas. Half PPR. So your running back's going to be Brees Hall, and your flex is going to be you going Ramondre or Chase, bro.
That is a crazy discussion that we're having. I would probably still go with Chase.
Half PPR,
I'd probably still go with Chase, but that's pretty close.
Yeah. Look how far we've come. Start 3 PPR, Kincaid, I'm assuming that says. It just says Cade, but Debo, Downs, Gus, Javonte, Reed. That's Cade, right? Like Kincaid?
Yeah, I would assume so.
So I'd go Kincaid, I would go Downs, and Debo.
Probably Debo.
In a PPR. Yep. Try to find Casey's comment. He does have a super sticker here, so appreciate that. While you're searching for that, I will go to Alex quick. Need 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Stevenson, Javonte, Warren, Olave, McLaurin, Flowers. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games today. Appreciate that, brother, and you enjoy them as well. In terms of the start, sit. Running back is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. Your wide receiver 1 is going to be Chris Olave. And your flex, this is full PPR, I believe. If that's the case, I would go with Flowers.
Yeah, Spicy, do you see Casey's comment? I do not see it anywhere.
Yeah, bro's using too much RAM. Tucker Kraft, a sneaky starter. Do I stay with Auten?
You have been fully like 10p this entire time. The last 10 minutes. Yeah, you're. I mean, you sound fine, at least on my end, but your camera quality's been all laggy and gross because StreamYard's dog shit.
That's so wild because you look clear as day to me and I look clear as day to myself.
Is there a little like Wi-Fi symbol?
I got 2 bars, it says.
Yeah, that's probably why it's being stupid. Anyways, Spicy, if you see Casey's question, just type it in the private chat. Okay, he said Casey's question. Okay. Bijan, Charbonnet, A-Chain, Mostert, Adams, Ridley, Lockett, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. So he's got to start 5 of these players. So Bijan, Charbonnet, Mostert. I don't think A-Chain's going to play. So this probably makes this question easy for me. Bijan and Mostert are the running backs. Charbonnet would be the flex. And then Adams and Ridley are the wide receivers over Lockett. And then A-Chain is probably a non-factor in this question.
Give me Taysom at tight
end. You're taking Taysom at tight end? Yeah, I would also take Taysom at tight end as well.
Especially in a 14-teamer. Like, if he goes ballistic, bro, like, that's looking nice. That's looking nice. Not to mention no other, like, there's barely any tight ends that with that type of ceiling that Taysom has. Okay, boys, here it is. Kyler or Fields this week. They're back-to-back for me. Jesus Christ. They are, respectively, Justin Fields is at 6. Kyler is at 7 for me.
Yeah, I have Fields at 8 and Kyler at 6. So I would play Kyler.
Fair. If that's the decider because you have a bigger discrepancy of Kyler over Fields and I have Fields over Kyler, I don't mind that because they're like Patrick Mahomes is at 5. Obviously, we kind of already mentioned the top 4 with Dak, Lamar, Hurts, and Allen. Like I would go Fields. I would.
Yeah. Danny, try leaving the call and rejoining because you're literally like 10p right now. I can barely see you. Skeeter says, K girls, here it is. Sam Howell or Justin Fields. So I would go with Justin Fields there, Skeeter. And also in the meantime, while Danny is coming back, I want to show you guys another thing that we want to shout out here. Where are we? Here we are. Okay. So if you guys are not aware, Underdog Fantasy's got a lot of cool shit going on today for Thanksgiving. So big promos, big day of promos over there. If you guys are new customers, you can see you got a boosted pick'em special there for Christian McCaffrey. And then also they're dropping 100,000 in total airdrops. So, 5,000 people get like $25 in cash or whatever for anybody that does a pick'em entry before 5:30 p.m. today. They've already dropped 1 batch of them, but they're going to be dropping 2 more today. So if you guys are new to Underdog, definitely check out our link there. Underdog Fantasy promo code FSE will get you 100% back. I will drop that in the comments right now, and you can do some pick'ems. And if you guys want to tail me on some here, I got some set up here. AJ Dillon, higher fantasy points. He basically just has to score to get that. I think he'll find the end zone today. Tucker Kraft lower on the receptions. Gibbs to find the end zone, and Khalif Raymond 11.5 receiving yards. He just needs to catch for that basically. And then I also have one for the Cowboys and the Commanders game. Get some rushing yards for Sam Howell. He'll probably have to run out of some trouble today. Curtis Samuel's the only receiver with a good matchup on the entire field, so I like his receiving yards. And then Dak, no interceptions.
Look how far we've come. Look how far we've come.
I mean, the Commanders just suck on defense, so I don't think they're going to pick them off. And then Tony Pollard to score a touchdown as well. And then for those of you guys that missed it, our trade calculator is also live. And as I talked about earlier on, there's so many great features that make this a much better trade calculator than anything you've ever used. You can put in all your league settings. Everything is customizable, and it factors in how deep your league is, how many wide receivers you need to start on any given week, how if it's super flex, if it's tight end premium. You can't just load up 4 players for Tyreek Hill and it tell you that it's a good trade. It says you're robbing them because it accounts for the fact that you'd have 3 open bench spots and you'd be able to add players to supplement that deal. So if you guys have not yet taken the plunge to sign up over on Flock Fantasy, this is the best time to do it. We got the new trade calculator going, which is free for everybody to use this weekend. You just have to make an account. And when you do make an account, make sure to use promo code FSE if you do decide to sign up later on. And then also too, a bonus episode every week going forward, including the Dynasty in-season trade strategy for rebuilders, for contenders, and for house money teams. So we do have a couple more supers, and then we'll try and rip all the way back up to the top of the order if we can. Maybe we'll just skim through the comments and see some commonly asked questions as well. Yeah. If you guys want to know about specific players, we did preview all the games the first 15 minutes of this. So if you want to go back and listen to hear where we have players ranked, you can definitely do that as well. John says, what's up?
I'm not lagging for you, am I?
I mean, your face is still laggy, but whatever. You're not. Your voice isn't lagging, so which is the important part. Full PPR, pick one: Amari, Godwin, Shaheed, Schultz, or Laporta. So Laporta easily in the tight end question, and then Amari Cooper, Godwin, or Shaheed. I personally would go with Chris Godwin. I think he's got a pretty good matchup this week, and I don't really want to mess with the Browns-Broncos game environment because the Broncos have been much better against the pass recently. Patrick Surtain's going to shadow cover Amari Cooper, and it's fucking Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So I would roll with Chris Godwin and Sam Laporta there, unless you have any gripes with that. That's probably where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Hoosier Devo says starting Barkley / JT and AJ Brown / Pittman need a flex. Connor, Devin Singletary, Chandler, Wilson Jr. I don't know who Wilson Jr. is. That's not Jeff Wilson, is it?
Has to
okay,
be,
well,
right?
he shouldn't even be rostered at this point in time. Either way, this is a very easy flex decision. You're starting James Conner because it looks like Dameon Pierce will probably be back this week because he was practicing a little last week and now he's practicing in full this week.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to just kind of skim through here. I need that calculator. Send me the link. Yeah, so the link to sign up here is flockfantasy.com/trade. And of course, you will need to make a free account for to use the trade calculator today. But if you do make an account, definitely make sure to use promo code FSE when you sign up in case you do eventually sign up for a package. We got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. Both of those links are in the chat if you guys want to check them out. And like I said, you'll get a bonus episode. Dynasty Decisions will be kicking up again pretty soon, and you get first priority to those. We're looking for some more submissions right now as well. Yep. So if you are a site member and you haven't submitted a team in a while and you have a lot of updates, or maybe you've submitted one and you're just waiting for us to get to it, submit a updated version since the last time you submitted as well, because we're looking to get some submissions going. So
real quick, I'm also just going to preview the video that we recently released. So if you guys do go over and sign up on Flock Fantasy, promo code FSC, like we kind of alluded to throughout the stream, we released a Dynasty in-season trading video where we talked about why we're being proactive, making deals in the offseason or during the season, trading to contend, trading to rebuild, trading as a house money team. We went 30 minutes. We went in depth, basically talked about the structure of some deals that you would want to make. So we basically have it labeled with the principles where trading to compete, buying cheap points, buying to replenish the arms race, and if you're buying to rebuild, trading for hurt players, trading to dump points. Those are the main pillars, obviously in depth in that video. So if you guys are members over on the site, that's going to be available to you.
Okay. And then also I forgot to answer the rest of this part. Apologies for that, Ruckus. He says, I think we answered just Kyler or Fields. Charbonnet, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Herbert, and Najee. So for me, that would be Charbonnet for sure as the RB. And then it's full PPR. I'd probably roll with Deontay Johnson as the second option there in full PPR. So that would be what I would roll with there, Ruckus. Apologies for that. AJ, what's going on? He says, boys, half PPR. Would you trade Ridley for either Flowers or Hollywood? See, this is tough because Ridley is at a little bit of a high in terms of his value right now. The way that the offense played with Zay Jones out there. But I will say, in terms of strength of schedule stuff, like I wrote some articles and done some TikToks and stuff on guys that have good schedules and guys that don't. Ridley is a really tough one, and Hollywood is a really easy one. So I think I'm probably fine making that trade. The tough thing is one guy's on the down slope and one guy's on the up slope right now. So maybe you can do Ridley for Hollywood plus would be my piece of advice there.
Yep. Now with that being said, we'll go a couple more minutes, but I want to make sure all of my lineups are set, knowing that there's 4 games in the next less than 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Corey says, I'm going to sign up so I don't keep bothering Danny. Yeah, that's the nice thing too, is that if you do sign up on the site, you'll be able to just get trade answers anytime you want. Yeah. We don't yet have the functionality to put like specific experts, like if you wanted my specific opinion or Danny's specific opinion, but that will be coming. So you'll be able to, right now it goes based on our community rankings, which is essentially like our version of Keep Trade Cut that's filtered in through people saying how they would rank certain players, but it is also based on our expert opinions as well between me, Mason, myself, Danny, Zach, and Badaka and stuff. But you will eventually be able to add draft picks to the dynasty trades, which will be able to really help you guys making trades in dynasty. And then also, if you wanted my specific opinion, you'd be able to add my name or Mason's name or Danny's name or whoever's name that you wanted to know specifically. So that stuff that'll probably be coming in the next week or two. So that'll be coming very soon.
Yep. Will be fun.
John says Dynasty, I can trade Big Mike for pick 8-ish. Big
Evans
Mike who?
Give me pick
Evans?
8. Yeah, give me pick 8.
Yeah. If you get the 108 in the 2024 draft for Mike Evans, you got to do that. Like, as much as Evans is a great option this year, like that is a very, very high value pick given the strength of this class. So that is definitely something worth going there. So apologies if we did not get to your guys' questions. We meant to get to a lot more, but of course, if you want our weekly rankings, you can check them out there on the site as well. I didn't even mention that. That's another benefit of signing up on the site is you get our weekly rankings and our matchup charts, as well as our rest of season rankings, our dynasty rankings, our trade value charts, everything you guys can need. It's extremely, extremely value packed there. So I want to set my lineups as well because I don't want to get screwed because there's 4 games on in the next 2 days. So we're going to sign off here a little bit early. But yeah, good luck to everybody in their leagues. Hopefully you guys win. I know my Best Ball Mania 4 team that has a chance at the 500,000 grand prize for the regular season. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing for me today. AJ Dillon is playing for me today. I have Jared Goff on that team as well. So hoping for a big day out of the Packers and Lions game in terms of overall points. With those guys going off today. So good. Hopefully I get some good luck and I can continue to climb the leaderboards because I want that $500,000.
Hey, amen. Hopefully we were talking about it yesterday, but hopefully, for our sake and for your guys' sake, imagine the content if at least one of us, if not both of us, are able to advance a team to the final this year.
Dude, if both of us advance a team to the final, I will eat a book on camera. Like I will literally eat a book. Like it's so unlikely to happen that I will do it.
Yeah, like a hardcover,
like a paperback.
I was gonna say
hardcover would be a little difficult.
Just like I said, when I say once, I said I would shave my head at something that was so unlikely to happen, and people were like,
I'll shave my head, eat a book, whatever you need me to do. If I get a team to the playoffs, and you get a team to the playoffs, and one of us like wins or has a chance of winning, like I will be excited. I'll be ecstatic. Sam says he'll eat an ebook. Love to see that. Anyways, good luck to everybody. Hopefully we have a week of no injuries.
Go Jameer.
Last week and we had way too many. So hopefully we got a healthy week. So take it easy, fellas. Good luck and happy Thanksgiving to those of you guys that are American. Peace out.
Peace out.